Vladimir Putin, accused just yesterday by the Justice Department of trying to help the Trump campaign, today said that he is supporting none other than Kamala Harris, explaining he likes her, quote, infectious and expressive laugh. Of course, Donald Trump has repeatedly ridiculed Harris's laugh. And U.S. intelligence agencies say the Kremlin prefers Trump because of Trump's skepticism about supporting Ukraine in its war with Russia. The U.S. accused Russia on Wednesday of trying to help the Trump campaign with 5 Russian state-funded media outlets, including RT, or Russia Today, which was sanctioned by the State Department as a propaganda machine a year ago. The Justice and Treasury Department also accusing 2 RT employees of bankrolling an online Russian propaganda campaign. RT's press office derided the charge, writing, "ha ha ha," in all caps, and adding, 2016 called and it wants its cliches back. Well, aside from that kind of derision, joining me now is retired Lieutenant General H.R. McMaster, a former national security advisor for then President Trump, and his new book is At War with Ourselves, My Tour of Duty in the Trump White House, which is remarkable. So, first of all, it's great to see you, H.R. Let's talk about.
Great to be with you, Andrea.
Well, I've been looking forward to this so much. I want to talk to you about Vladimir Putin's claims. He's smirked and he said he prefers Kamala Harris. All of our intelligence agencies saying that Russia is actively preferring and supporting Donald Trump. That was the basis of their charges yesterday.
Yeah. Well, Andrea, he's an operator, and what he's doing is doing everything he can to undermine our confidence in our democratic process and in our institutions. When I haven't read the whole report yet, but it's quite well done. What I think, though, Andrea, this is a setup, right? It's a setup. I really don't think that Vladimir Putin cares who wins our elections as long as large numbers of Americans doubt the legitimacy of the result. So I think what we all can do is not fall for it this time. I mean, we know what his playbook is. They get more and more adept at it. And I think that, his statement yesterday, the activities of the GRU and the SVR and these intelligence organizations that are running this influence campaign, really what they want to do is erode our common identity as Americans, pit us against each other, and reduce our confidence in who we are and in our institutions.
And we're focusing on Russia because that Vladimir Putin came out today. But of course, we want to point out that Merrick Garland and the government is saying that China, Iran also actively trying to influence our campaign by focusing on false disagreements, promoting disagreements and infighting in the U.S. as well. Putin today also claimed that Ukraine's incursion in the north of the northern border there has failed to slow Russia's advances. Was that incursion a mistake, given that Russia has retaliated big time? Do you worry that also Trump is going to help Putin, if Trump is elected, force Ukraine into making concessions and basically surrendering its independence?
Andrea, I'm concerned about sustained support for Ukraine. I think it was a good decision to make the incursion and to get out, from under the electromagnetic warfare and air defense umbrella, so that the Ukrainians could strike, at some of these long range assets that they were being bombarded with impunity. I think really what's necessary at this stage is to lift some of the restrictions, on the munitions and weapon systems we've provided, and to build the confidence of the Ukrainians that they will have sustained support. And I do worry about President Trump's desire for a big deal. I mean, I think, Putin, plays everybody, right? He's an operator, and he'll appeal to the President Trump, if he gets reelected, to his desire to have some kind of a big deal and to have some kind of an entente with Putin. But, Putin is determined. He's determined to drag everybody else down under the theory that he can be sort of the last man standing and can restore Russia to national greatness. He's told us that with the essay that he penned just a few months before he conducted the massive reinvasion of Ukraine. So I think we have to take him at his word to recognize that a ceasefire is not going to solve the problem in Ukraine unless Ukraine can regain the initiative and initiate some sort of a negotiated settlement under favorable conditions. I mean, I think what we've seen is Putin has decided, hey, he can't have all Ukraine thanks to the valor and the sacrifices of the Ukrainians. But he's decided, well, if I can't have Ukraine, Ukraine can't have Ukraine either. And we're going to see this continued onslaught until Ukraine's allowed to not only shoot down the arrows that are coming at them in the form of these glide bombs and missiles, but also have the opportunity to kill the archer on the other end with some of these longer range systems.
And of course, Putin, we should point out to anyone who doesn't know that, is former KGB, the predecessor of the FSB. So he was an intelligence guy for his whole career in East Germany prominently. Turn to the war in Gaza quickly, because U.S. officials, the Israeli defense minister, the spy agencies, they're all clearly frustrated. The Prime Minister Netanyahu, they say, is raising so many obstacles that there can't be a ceasefire, there can't be a hostage release. I mean, we know Hamas is at fault for starting this and could release the hostages at any time. That's a given. But at this point, NBC is reporting that the U.S. is considering options to try to deal through our partners with Hamas directly for a limited hostage release of the American surviving hostages and some others. Is that smart right now, given that our ally, the Israeli prime minister, is ignoring his people, his defense minister, and everyone else, and refuses to concede?
Well, Andrea, I have a different perspective on this, and I understand the arguments in favor of pushing hard for a ceasefire at this moment, to, for the humanitarian purpose of, of stopping the suffering of innocents and getting the release of the hostages. But really, Andrea, I don't think there's any other option but to destroy Hamas. And the reason for this is that Hamas still has the guns in Gaza, and a new political order in Gaza, a Palestinian political order, cannot emerge as long as they are still a viable
What about the
organization.
fact that the defense minister, Gallant, says, and the intelligence say they can't be destroyed, quote, destroyed? You've done as much as you can.
Well, Sinwar is still alive, right? And these leaders are still hiding, probably in Khan Yunis, they think, at the moment. So I think they have to be hunted down, because they deserve to be hunted down after the heinous attacks of October 7th and so many acts of murder and terrorism before and after that. But there can't be, if you care about, there's a lot of talk about, hey, can we ever get on a path to a two-state solution? Can there be an enduring peace between Israel and the Palestinians? You can't get on that track as long as Hamas is in control of Gaza. And so if you believe in some kind of a two-state solution, that step A to get there has to be the destruction of Hamas, the emergence of a new security order in Gaza, maybe a multinational one with the Emiratis and Egyptians and others pitching into that to give space for a new political order to emerge there. Andrea, if you say, hey, I'll be the mayor of Gaza, guess what's going to happen? Within a few minutes, is you're going to get a bullet in the head. So I think people are looking past that fundamental precondition for any kind of enduring peace, and to get rid of the organization, Andrea, that has diverted so much assistance from the Palestinian people into its terrorist infrastructure, an organization that really is committed to destroying Israel and killing all the Jews. That doesn't sound like they're signing up for a two-state solution to me. So I just think, I know it's not what you normally hear these days. Of course, I would welcome a ceasefire that leads to to the elimination of Hamas and this new order, to give space for a new order to emerge. But that's not what the Hamas leaders have in mind.
Let me ask you a couple of quick questions. In your book, you talk about a 13-day trip to Asia, during which former President Trump, he was tired, he was irritated, he was aged. He's now 78. Do you think he has the stamina and focus to be president?
Well, I'm not with him now. Just as like you and I are both looking at him, it seems like he can get around fine. He has plenty of energy at his rallies, for example. But I do think that the demands of the job are considerable, and what I write in the book is that the demands are cognitive, as we've seen with the concerns over President Biden, but they're also physical in terms of physical endurance, especially on travel, like that overly long trip to Asia.
Well, and also taking the presidential daily brief, which he didn't seem to pay a whole lot of attention to. I also want to ask you quickly about Arlington, because military has criticized it. The defense is, he was invited, but he went to Section 60, where photographs are not allowed, and they did a video and put it out as a campaign video on TikTok. Was that wrong?
Yes, it was wrong, Andrew, no doubt about it. I think that anytime you try to politicize the military overall, But then to politicize those who made the ultimate sacrifice in our name should be regarded as unconscionable, and I think that what we've seen lately, this fits kind of a pattern, Andrea, where I think people in both political parties try to cloak themselves in the military, and what that you don't want to drag the military into this partisan politics. It's destructive to our ethos and our professional military ethic, and ultimately Americans' confidence in their military. We have to be studiously nonpartisan. Andrea, I remember back to, I think it was April of 21, when President Biden went to Area 60 to announce the complete withdrawal from Afghanistan. And I thought, hey, how can he think that's a good idea? Standing among those who made the ultimate sacrifice, and then to say, hey, we're just going to withdraw from Afghanistan. So I think this is indicative for both President Trump and President Biden. There's a real disconnect between even our most senior political leaders and understanding. They don't understand really why America's warriors fight, why we serve, and so I think we need to maybe educate ourselves about the professional military ethic.
And that is what you do in That War with Ourselves. It's a great book, retired General H.R. McMaster. Thank you so much.
Andrew, you're in that book. Do you know you're in that book? I didn't name you, but do you know the scene in Mellon Auditorium when I saw you? So I want to thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And that does it for us for this edition of Andrea Mitchell Reports. Chris Jansing Report starts after a quick break.